Former Disney executive and the founder of Prime Video and Amazon Studios absolutely blasted the current crop of Hollywood elites, claiming that they have contempt for the audience and hostility toward white people and men. Roll this up over at fandompulse.com. You will not find coverage like this anywhere else. I encourage you to become a subscriber, join our mailing list, and become a paid subscriber and help support us in taking back our culture, our society from these woke ideologues who are trying to destroy it. So, Roy Price, who was the founder of Amazon Video and Amazon Studios before he was basically Me Too'd out of the company. He was also a former Disney executive working on acclaimed films such as Hercules, lampooned Hollywood, as I said, for having contempt for the audience and hostility toward white people and men. He shared these opinions, these thoughts, in a recent article posted to his Substack titled "Woke is the New Disco." He blasted the current Hollywood elite for living within an America, quote, an America that exists mainly in Hollywood HR departments, Columbia's faculty lounge, and at CNN and MSNBC. He noted that the studios and the elites that run them have chosen to disdain and ignore many Americans, including half the country's voters, 40% of Americans who own guns, another 40% who attend church monthly, and the 74% who live outside the West Coast, New York, or New England. I think you should be attending church on a weekly basis. Add to this the roughly 50% of Americans who are male. Yeah, these are all the people that Hollywood has basically decided to not only just completely ignore, but to actively hate and disdain. And they make this abundantly clear in their movies and TV shows. One needs only look at what the Walt Disney Company is up to, what Amazon is up to, watch some of their big shows, watch Star Wars, watch Marvel, watch The Boys, watch Lord of the Rings of Power, etc. Their agenda is patently obvious for anyone who has eyes to see. Nevertheless, Price then declared that the deeper problem within Hollywood is contempt for the audience. He explained wokeness, both in politics and entertainment, carries within it a strong and explicit element of hostility, particularly toward white people and men. While this approach initially gained compliance through social pressure and corporate acquiescence a few years ago, such accommodations were, of course, temporary. Amongst the people and in courtrooms, by 2024, wokeness has become toxic. To a large part of the audience, it is an embarrassing, widely resented relic of the past, and the people need to see that acknowledged by candidates. They, especially men, need to see wokeness disavowed. So obviously in this article, he's not only just talking about Hollywood, he's talking about the most recent elections in the United States of America as well. He later reiterated this: Hollywood is having a difficult time, partly because, like Kamala Harris, it has been denying the reality of the audience. It has not been meeting customer expectations, mostly because it disdains them. This is something I've been saying over and over and over again. These people who believe in woke ideology are literally at war with reality. They hate reality. They want to destroy it. They hate the truth. They hate the truth of the world, and they want to tear it down. And they have set out to do this, and they try to destroy everything that happens to be pointing people towards what is true and good, whether that be in fantasy settings, whether that be in things like Lord of the Rings, whether that be in things like Star Wars. All of those iconic properties do indeed point people to what is true and good, and wokeists hate that, and they want to destroy it. It's like, to paraphrase Tolkien, they cannot create, they can only twist and warp what is good. So Price goes on and says, it is time to focus on doing well, making great shows, hiring the best people, and responding to customers. Meeting customers where they are, giving the people what they want, because making customers the enemy of your industry is never viable. That is absolutely damning, because he is saying that Hollywood has literally made its own customers the enemy. That's what he's saying there. He's saying that Hollywood has gone out of its way to make its own customers its enemy. I mean, just think about that. They intentionally did this, and we have a former power player here, founder of Amazon Studios and Prime Video, worked within Disney, pointing this out. This is damning, absolutely damning. If this is a wake-up call for this industry, Absolute wake-up call. I don't think they're going to hear it. I don't even think they're going to push the button to snooze. They're just going to keep on doing what they're doing, because I think so many of these people are so entrenched in this. But that's another point. He also shared why he believes Hollywood was so easily captured by the ideology. He says, for most people, it is conformity. Hiring decisions are subjective in Hollywood, so there's always pressure to conform. In addition, at this point, some people believe that if not for wokeness, they would not have their jobs. They're probably right about that. They're 100% right about that. All of these companies have DEI initiatives. They all have them. It's all publicly posted on their websites, whether it's the Walt Disney Company, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Ubisoft, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Activision, you name it. All of these major corporations have DEI policies. They all have illegal hiring practices where they hire people not based on who is best qualified or who is going to be the best fit for the culture. It is based on your race and your sex and your sexuality. Primarily disordered sexuality. And it's on their websites. Finally, Price revealed that he believes Hollywood should and can be saved, and explained how that can occur. He said this: at this point, it is not enough to be not woke. One must be anti-woke. Love I see what you did there. See what you did there, Mr. Price. As for what that entails, he shared that it means putting a focus back on meritocracy, ambition, freedom, and humor. Furthermore, he noted it means that the era of canceling must come to an end. Rather, accusations must be handled with, quote, fact-based, level-headed judgment. He then said the super woke may have to leave, or perhaps some can walk it back. But Hollywood could also start by confronting the original sin of this recent era by distinguishing between those excluded for legitimate reasons and those purged in a feral moment of vindictive frenzy to capture power. And clearly, he was one of those who was purged in order for the woke ideologues to take over control of these companies and gain power. They used the Me Too movement to do that. We saw that time and time again. Now, obviously, some of those accusations, some of the things that Harvey Weinstein was doing, clearly absolutely heinous, absolutely evil, absolutely wrong, should have been brought to justice, and he was. But many of them were completely and utterly fake. And they used it to run people out of industry, cancel them, get them out of power. And we saw this, and it wasn't just obviously Me Too. Gina Carano is actually fighting back against the Walt Disney Company, against Lucasfilm, suing them in the state of California for wrongfully terminating her. Because we saw her get canceled over her First Amendment rights. She was actually fired. So it happened. We all lived through it. Anyone watching this video is old enough to know what happened, saw what had happened, and because we lived through it. We all saw it. And his comments don't come out of nowhere, right? It's more than just Hollywood that is promoting this hateful, disgusting agenda, but we do see this coming from Hollywood. There was an article just this year from Cameron Barnett in Collider called Star Wars' Biggest Problem is the Fans. And it's not just all the fans, it's literally white fans, because he writes this: well, the most vocal viewers of the franchise wield the power of the internet in order to push a bigoted agenda that originates from the prejudices of an earlier time. While mainstream Star Wars content has grown to produce meaningful narratives while being bogged down by hate in the background. True fans understand that the Star Wars universe is a sci-fi wonderland where anything can happen and anyone belongs, and the future looks bright for those who have already opened up their minds to the compassion that all audience members should have learned a long time ago. Basically, this guy is using a bunch of buzzwords to try to say, like, degeneracy, degeneracy is fine and okay, and you better accept it because that's the compassionate thing to do, when it's the complete and utter opposite. We should not be tolerating degeneracy at all, or disordered behaviors. We should be praying for these people, but we do not tolerate it, and we certainly do not accept it. We oppose it. And then as for what he meant by the earlier time, he's talking about white people. He says the first film in the original trilogy, originally just titled Star Wars upon its 1977 release, was shown to the public during a decade of classic hits like Steven Spielberg's Jaws in 1975 and Rocky in 1976. This was a time when Hollywood relied almost exclusively on traditional tropes to sell stories exclusively through a Eurocentric white male lens. So there you go. It's all about hating white people. Despite taking place in a galaxy far, far away from the filmmaking conventions of Earth, Star Wars' original trilogy features a mostly white cast, female characters, with largely unrealized potential, and no LGBTQ plus storylines depicted on screen. So again, hatred of white people, hatred of white men, claiming that the female characters have largely unrealized potential. No clue what he's even talking about there. Utterly insane commentary, especially if you actually watch those movies and see what happens with Princess Leia. And then no LGBTQ plus storylines. That's a good thing because we should not be promoting disordered behavior whatsoever. The only time you should see any kind of LGBTQ storyline in a film or TV or any kind of storyline is when those people are realizing that their behavior is absolutely wrong. It is disordered. They are seeking help from it. They are repenting from it and realizing that what they have done is wrong and they should no longer be participating in that ever again. That is the only acceptable LGBTQ plus storyline that Hollywood should ever show. It should never be trying to promote it as a good because it is not a good. It can never be a good. It's not just Hollywood. Dungeons and Dragons was captured as well. Wizards of the Coast employed a guy named Kyle Brink as its executive producer for Dungeons and Dragons, who infamously declared that he wanted to remove white men from the hobby. He said this during an interview with the YouTube channel Three Black Halflings. There's been mistakes made. Well, let's just listen.
Guys like me, we're leaving the workforce, to be blunt, and we're also not. This is not the face of the hobby anymore. I'm not the majority of this hobby anymore, and so it's important to me that my team of creators look like my players and have the lived experience that my players do. And I think there's been mistakes made in years past where people assumed that D&D players were all, white dudes in a basement, which has been a faulty assumption for a lot of years and gets more and more false every day. And so it's, in my viewpoint, honestly, guys like me can't leave soon enough for this hobby. And
so absolutely disgusting. You can see there clearly wanting to get white guys out of Dungeons and Dragons, all for the sake of that representation ideology that these people are always pushing. It's just evil, evil stuff there. Again, we also see this in the video game industry. We have this person here, Marina Diaz. She is a game developers conference advisor and video game consultant. In now deleted posts, actually wrote this: I went from thinking I'm a crappy designer to consult and train teams at one of the biggest game companies in the world. Keep believing in yourself and F white men and gatekeepers. She posted this literally in September, just a couple of months ago. She added, not all white men suck, but you know what I mean, my loves. Like, I don't know what you mean. You said F white men and gatekeepers. It seems very clear what you were saying there, but then you realized that you posted a bunch of racism and then you had to try and somehow backtrack on it a little bit. But this is just an example. These people are all over the place. I mean, Endymion is talking about how Dragon Age the Veilguard was literally created to trash white people. I mean, that is what he says that game is all about, the way it depicts its characters, the way that it tells its story. It's all about demonizing white people. We also have this guy, I think it's a guy, IGN writer Ki Hoon Chan, famous for trashing Black Myth Wukong and its developer Game Science. He admitted to hating white people back in January 2022. He wrote this on X: do I hate white people? Yes. And if you're a friend, you'll understand why this is never personal. I hate white privilege so much. Their ability to scream reverse racism when faced with a tiny bit of criticism. The world revolves around them, even in Singapore, every day. So clearly, these people are around. Roy Price's comments are not unfamiliar for anyone who has been following me and what I've been doing over the past almost decade now. And when it comes to entertainment, journalism, and writing, I mean, that's basically been my job, is exposing these people to a wider audience. And obviously, Roy Price literally was a victim of this Me Too movement, of the cancel culture. He was the guy who founded Prime Video and Amazon Studios and saw firsthand what this ideology does. It not only destroys our entertainment, our escapism, but it destroys people on an individual level too, and it wants to break them. And these people are institutionalized, right? This woke ideology is institutionalized. But we were talking about how they have all these DEI policies, they have all these DEI departments. They do. So just because there was an election that won, there is a big, huge fight still ahead of us. The war is far from over. These people are entrenched. They have no intention of ever giving up their power because it's all about power for them. They don't care about the video games. They don't care about the stories. They don't care about Lord of the Rings. They don't care about Star Wars. I mean, we saw the person at Collider. It's all about pushing the agenda, using the stories, the franchises, etc., to control people, to have that power. And we have to root these people out. And it is going to take a long time. And we have to be committed to this fight. And we have to have the courage and the backbone to say no to these people and work to get them out of these massive corporations on that front. But then also, like, we need to start creating our own stuff. And that's what we're doing here at Phantom Pulse. Obviously, I've partnered with John De La Rose. He's creating his own stuff. We love to promote other people that are creating their own stuff that is 100% opposed to this woke ideology. And we are going to continue to do that here. We're going to continue to feature people like Isaac Young, like Brian Emeyer, people that are making change, creating awesome, good stuff to entertain us, provide escapism, provide consolation, provide all the things that J.R. Tolkien talks about, make up a great fairy story. And that is what we're going to do here, because that is part of this fight. And we're going to keep fighting this stuff because these people are entrenched. These people have an agenda. They hate you, and they're not going to stop. And we've got Roy Price here, another person from inside the machine, telling us what is actually happening. So I think this is huge. A lot of people are probably going to roll their eyes like, of course, didn't you notice this before? But this is a guy who literally worked for Amazon, founded Amazon Studios, founded Prime Video, worked at Disney. He worked at these companies. He's coming out, calling them out. I think that is really, really big. We have to continue to hit on this to let more and more people know this is what is happening. They have this agenda. They are going to scream and yell and point at you, say that you're the one that is full of hate when it's actually what they are doing. So let me know what you guys make of what Roy Price here had to say. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.